Okay, so folks on the Zoom, if you don't mind signing in the chat, as typically having them, people in the room, we have a physical sign-in sheet made of paper. So, and then I guess we can start. I guess Leah Taylor has advised us one microphone at a time, and we're recording.
All right, my watch says 2 minutes after 9 o'clock, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome to everybody to our first in-person meeting in 3 years. And I think we need a roll call.
Deb Rush.
Here.
Georgiana Schuster.
Here.
Kim Fisher. Vicki Nicewander.
Here.
Ann Robin.
Here. The next item is approval of the agenda. I will take a motion to approve the agenda as published.
I'll move to approve as published.
And I will second it. Okay. Now, I think that because we are in person, we no longer have to take a roll call on every item on the agenda. So I will just ask those in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda will be as printed. Okay, the next item is chairperson's comments, and I want to keep this very brief because we have a lot of business to do. And I see Kim Fisher is here. You only missed the roll call, Kim, and you're here. Yeah. First, I want to welcome everybody to our first in-person meeting. And I think you all figured out that you have to press the little button on your microphone in order for it to be on. It not only helps everybody in the room to hear you, but it also makes your voice recorded for the Open Meetings Act. The next thing I want to do is to, with heartfelt thanks to the staff for the hard work that you've done over the last months preparing everything for this meeting. I recognize, probably not as well as I should, but I do recognize how much work you've all put into getting ready for this meeting. So I want to thank you for that. And thank you for being here. I also want to recognize the agency staff who are here or who are on Zoom for their hard work in everything that you're doing and also for preparing for this meeting. The last 3 years have been bizarre, to put it mildly. A whole year of absolutely not being able to get together in person for any services was devastating beyond belief. And for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, I'm going to start crying thinking about it. It was so bad. Now, there were some bright spots. There were some people that actually learned how to use technology, and not all of those people have IDD. Some of those people were staff and board members, but we did learn how to use technology, and we're going to continue to use technology going forward as it suits people's needs. But a lot of things just have to be done in person. So we lost a lot, and we are still in recovery. This is not business as usual. This is still recovery time. We are heading toward a new time when we can think more broadly about what the unmet needs are in our community and how we can best meet those needs. But we need to recognize that we're grateful that we're still here, and we're grateful that we're still able to provide the services that are being provided. Yes, there's unmet needs. Yes, there's things that could be done better. Yes, there's more that needs to be done in the future. And we can celebrate that we're still here so that we can address those as we go forward. So that is really my remarks for this meeting. Lynn?
Thank you, Ann. Just as a reminder, if you're a visitor, not a board member or staff, please sign in the attendance sheet so that we can accurately represent who was here. And then a couple folks on the Zoom, please sign into the chat. I think you did. Okay, so on the screen, I have the agenda. I think I'm just going to leave it. I kind of like that. Yes, thank you, Anne, for all of that. I've been sitting in this room for 3+ years by myself. I have occasionally had 1 or 2 visitors. It was like a party. And so right now I feel like, welcome to my home, everyone. It's so great to see you all. And this is probably the most important meeting of the year. This is the only mandatory meeting of the DDB is the July meeting where they elect officers. But this is the most important one where you do the thing that is the most meaningful to this community, which is make decisions about allocations to agency contracts. That is where the great majority of the revenue ends up going, is into these agency contracts. And so that is the reason for the high degree of attention from our staff, who we all read at least part of every application. Some people read everything. We had lots and lots of conversations. We've provided these very detailed analyses, which did have a couple of mistakes. So in the board packet, you'll see a couple of corrections of I think some are corrections of our errors. And then there's maybe a correction of another error, but there was also an outstanding question that got answered right when we were publishing the board packet. And that is regarding our observation about something that happened in personnel forms with some of the DSC applications. And I did speak with their CFO about it. And she had also seen the effect of that strategy, which is, strategy is a technical issue, and adjusted for it. So my big concern was that what we were looking at might be an inaccurate total, and all of the totals are accurate. She showed me how she did it. It's interesting. So that issue still appears in the memo of like one of the things to be revised, but that does not need to be revised at this point. There was not a problem. So other than that, I think that we do spend a lot of time and attention on this because it's the most important thing you do all year. We wanted to make sure that the board felt prepared to make decisions about these requests for funding today. Unfortunately, there are lots of big questions still on our minds. So there may be the need for a little bit of discussion on some, and I think that's fine. If we run out of time, we could always have another meeting, but the main thing is we operate within the context of the state of Illinois, and that is real on every level. We are bound by the statute that establishes DD boards to follow DHS rules. Like that's in there a few times. We do not have we can't really do something that's so different from what the state is doing. And that is very unfortunate because I think we are all deeply aware of the inadequacies of the current state and federal DD, the formal funded DD system. It is tragic in some ways. And I think it's, this time of year is hard for us because the amount of time it takes to provide these analyses and because of the weight of the issues, but it's also really wonderful to live in a community like this that still has agencies willing to serve people with developmental disabilities, and the agencies have hope that they can hire enough staff to really meet these needs. It's inevitable that a whole bunch of people are not getting anything, and we still need to attend to that. But I feel really lucky that we have what we have. So anyway, I think I've said enough. I think that was all the stuff I was supposed to say. Anyway, let's get on with the show. There's a lot of information in the packet too after the big decisions.
Thank you, Lynn. The next item is approval of last month's board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve. And I will second that motion.
Any discussion about the minutes, things that need to be in there or are inaccurate? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved as written. Now the next item is the vendor invoice list, which today is a little bit longer than it has been recently. I will entertain a motion to approve the list.
I'll move to approve as presented. I'll second.
Okay, any discussion about the vendor invoice list? Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, well, we've accomplished that. So the next item is now I'm getting myself confused here. The funding requests, I don't see a star next to it, but we do have to vote for those.
Well, that's really just a chart. We can. So that item, new business A, is a chart of requests with staff recommendations. It's really just for information. And then the next item is the errors, clarification of errors. So the memo where you have to take
Oh,
action.
staff recommendations is C,
Yeah, C.
pages 11 through 26. So I'm going to use the list, and
Okay.
Lynn and I talked about, since there have been some significant changes. Oh, shoot, I'm going to just let that go. Significant changes in CCRPC since they submitted their request. I'm going to put that last so that we will have more time to discuss and figure out what's really going on. So I'm going to start from the top of the list, but I will bypass CCRPC, and we'll just go down the list and discuss. So the first item on my list is CU Autism Network Community Outreach Program. And I don't have my document here that said who are the primary and secondary reviewers. I failed to bring that with me.
I'm sorry, we didn't put that in there.
Yeah. Okay, so I believe we have to have a motion to approve the funding request as requested and a second, and then we can have discussion. Stephanie's nodding yes, so I think we're doing it the right way. Okay, is there a motion to approve the request from CU Autism Network Community Outreach Program for $79,132?
I will make the motion to approve the CU Autism Network Community Outreach Program.
Okay, and a
Request.
second?
And I'll second.
Okay. And what discussion do we have on this? Did we have enough discussion last time? Okay. I believe we need a roll call vote for this because this is actually spending money that hasn't been spent yet, or allocating money that we need a roll call. Stephanie, would you do the roll call, please?
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Rush.
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, that one is approved. The next one is also CU Autism Network. And I believe this is a new program. Is that right? Am I getting this right? This is new. And we talked about this last month. This is for $65,217. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Kim. Oh, I don't have to say, this is Kim. You can see I'm Kim. Motion to approve CCDDB funding for $65,217 for CU Autism Network Planning Seed Grant, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
And I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any discussion on this?
I have a question. We're approving the CU Autism Network in general. Is that correct?
There are two specific requests. So this is the second one.
This is the second request, and this is a brand new program that they haven't done before,
Okay.
that they're asking for money to get this program off the ground. The other one was for an old program, if I remember correctly.
Okay, I'm recalling my question.
Okay. I'm sorry, does this work? For it to stay on. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions about this one? Okay, I think we're ready for roll call.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Rush.
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, we've got that one approved. Okay, I am going to defer the CCRPC until the end of our discussion. So the next item is community choices, customized employment for $226,500. They rounded it off.
I motion to approve CCDDB funding for $226,500 for Community Choices Inc. Customized employment, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
And I will second that.
Okay, what about discussion? All right, I think we're ready for a roll call.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Rush.
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher.
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next item is also community choices. This thing turns itself off if you don't talk continuously.
Just keep
Yeah.
talking.
I'll just blah, 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 blah. Okay, community choices, inclusive community support. Do I have a motion?
To approve the community choices and inclusive communities
You're not on.
Stay. Motion to approve CCDDB funding of $198,000 for Community Choices Incorporated, inclusive community support, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, let's do roll call.
Deb Rush.
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the motion is approved. The next item is also community choices, and it's called self-determination support. Can I get a motion?
I will make the motion to approve CCDDB funding of $176,500 for community choices, self-determination support, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion, questions? All right, Stephanie, would you please do roll call?
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Rush.
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. And we've got a couple more for community choices. The next one is community choices, staff recruitment and retention, which is a brand new program. Can I hear a motion? Woo.
Okay, I'll motion to approve CCDDB funding for $34,000 for Community Choices Inc. Staff recruitment and retention, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
Any discussion about this one? All right, Stephanie, would you please do roll call?
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Rush. Georgiana Schuster.
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, and the next one is also community choices, and it is for transportation support. And this is also a new program.
I'll make the motion to approve CCDDB funding of $119,500 for community choices, transportation support, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this one? Stephanie, would you please do roll call?
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Deb Ruch,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, turning the next page, we are moving on to DSC Clinical Services. Can I get a motion?
I have a motion to approve CCDDB funding for $241,000 for DSC clinical services, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
And I will second that motion.
Any discussion on this one? Stephanie, would you do roll call, please?
Deb Ruch,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, the next one is DSC Community Employment. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to approve CCDDB funding of $459,606 for DSC community employment, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
Do we have to also, do we have a separate motion for the second part of that? Yeah. No,
We will do a second, we will do a,
separately.
yes, we will do that as a separate motion. So we've got two motions here, as rightly pointed out by Deb Ruch. So we're doing motion number 1 on the top of page 9, which was just read. And,
I'll second that.
Okay.
first motion.
all right, so we are only looking at the motion to approve $459,606 for community employment with DSC. Discussion? Questions?
Deb Ruch,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, now there is a second one. Who wants to make that motion?
Motion to approve the use of $24,986 of this contract as match for Title 20 DFI grant funding.
Yeah, who knows?
Why do they have to put it in Roman numerals, huh? Thank goodness it was just XX.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, second for that one?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, I'm going to ask for just clarification. It's probably in this, but this is not extra money. This is money taken out of,
The 459,000.
okay.
Correct.
Kim Fisher, not Kim Fisher,
That's fine too.
Kim Bowdry.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so this is directing that $24,986 of the $459,606 be used as a match. Specifically, it's a modification. Okay. Any more discussion? Stephanie?
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Deb Ruch,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next one is also DSC. It is Community First. Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve CCDDB funding of $890,042 for DSC Community First, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
Discussion? Stephanie?
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Deb Ruch,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next one is DSC Community Living, formerly Apartment Services. Can I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve CCDDB funding of $565,480 for DSC Community Living, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Just a bit from me.
Please.
I actually was planning on voting no on this. But at this point, I don't want people to lose services. I do have a concern, and I brought this up at the last meeting, that there are really no opportunities noted for people who live in these apartments to actually engage in communities. So as we go to next year, if this is a return application, I would like to see more activity in that area and more reporting on what is happening for people outside of the 9 to 3 activities that they typically have.
Thank you for that. Yes.
I've also had a longstanding feeling that this program, the individuals who participate in this program would benefit a whole lot more from what this program provides by having weekend and evening type activities associated with the program.
Any more discussion on this one? I'm sure the people from DSC are listening.
A clarification, is it that they're not capturing that in the outcomes? That they're doing those activities, but they're not reporting it? Maybe that's the issue. So maybe we could support them more to capture all the different activities they're doing in the community.
Lynn, do you have a sense of that? At one point, there was discussion several years ago about the difficulty of obtaining staff to work with people outside. Maybe somebody from DSC could clarify after the fact, whatever. Between, it seemed like there was a lot of activity happening during the day from 9 to 3 when those individuals are already engaged in their day programming, and not a whole lot happening after hours and on weekends to assist the people with other needs. Of course, you can't see a physician at 8 o'clock at night, that kind of thing, but you know, I've always had the hope that this program would evolve more toward that type of service that happens more after hours instead of people leaving day programming.
Who would like to address that question, Lynn?
Well, I can give part of an answer, but I just, board permission to ask the agency for more details. But I just want to say that, Debrush, thank you. You have served on this board for a long time. And to my recollection, this is an issue that the board brings up every year, that there's some concern about, maybe the constraints of the program or the staffing, but, that everyone would like to see more community engagement and on off hours, not office hours. So I think that is an appropriate question to ask the agency now. And then if there is something to be done about it during this contract year, is that okay?
It's okay with me.
And there's a microphone at the table.
Is someone able to address this question?
Good morning. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about this one a little bit. So we appreciate the concerns. I do think part of it, Kim, is what you just said, that a lot of the activity is happening. And so maybe we're not capturing or reporting things in a manner that you want. Evenings and weekends are challenging. We're having a hard time staffing during the day. But I think one maybe misnomer is that not everybody that lives at that apartment building is participating in day program. So there are opportunities for service delivery to happen, the way they want it to fill their days, not just, necessarily assuming that the services that they want are in evenings and weekends. Some have a community living person that supports them at DSC and also have PSWs if they have home-based support awards. If they just have county funding, then they have the person from DSC through community living that's working with them. One of the new caveats for this grant was some social opportunities that are happening after hours. And so that, I think that was mentioned. I know in employment services, they were calling it Employment Plus, and I can't remember what you're calling it in this program. So I defer.
Sure. We haven't really titled it, but we're doing at least a once a month activity in the community. Individuals get to decide what they want to do. And it is taking place more in the evenings and weekends. And then the community living specialists are working with the individuals to plan transportation so that they can help facilitate the activity, but not necessarily be really involved in it. So just helping them guide to access the community. So in hopes that they will, build skills so they can do it on their own.
And I do think that that's the other intent is that a lot of the activities that they're doing, the hope is that they are able to kind of transfer and generalize those skills into being able to do things together without staff support. So I see opportunities for us to share more about what's going on and also take in the considerations of the things that you're mentioning to demonstrate more of that. So I don't want that to be a concern. I think the people that are participating in the program are getting the services that they want. And we need to do a better job of, sharing that information with you. I'll take a look at the quarterly reports too, because I think a lot of the information is noted in there, but it's probably more specific, like talking about all the people in the program and not necessarily individual opportunities that people have. They used to have an objective, like we used to have an outcome that people would participate in new hobbies and interests. And I don't think that we do that formally anymore, but that activity is still happening. So I'll take a look at that as well.
It's more about community integration. We have a formal.
Okay. So does that help? Does that answer questions, or is there anything else I can speak to?
It really does for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
It would be nice if it was in the proposal itself, which really didn't reflect much community inclusion.
Okay. We'll revisit that then too. So language is easier to fix than
For sure.
So, okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for those clarifications, and thank you to the board members for your questions. Any further discussion about this motion that is on the floor? Stephanie?
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. And I do appreciate people's questions and comments. I think this is healthy discussion. DSC connections. Can I get a motion?
I will make the motion to approve CCDDB funding of $106,400 for DSC connections, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
Discussion on this item. Go for it, Vicky.
So this one, I love the idea of the arts program, and I love the idea that DSC is doing different clubs, different interest groups. I think that's great. But I don't really see the connection to community necessarily. It seems to me that it's a day program with special interests, but there's not a lot of actual community connection to it other than going to the expo and maybe a couple of other things. So it would be nice to see, again, people getting engaged with artists and art programs, maybe even art classes at the community college to help develop their skills and make those individual personal connections with people that are not attached to the program. And for me, it's all about people having the best quality of life possible. And when I'm making decisions about what to vote for and what to not vote for, that's what I'm looking at. Does this offer people a better life? So.
I just want to respond to Vicky's comment because we talked at length before this meeting, and I hear the community connection coming from you very frequently as a concern and an interest. And I have been involved for a long time with a lot of things in the community. I'm not really sure exactly what you mean by community connection. So I'm just going to say that we need to define what we mean by that so that programs can then understand what expectations are. There's so many different ways that people can be involved in the community, and the community is so many different things. So we'll kind of hold that and discuss that more in the future, what your concerns are about that
Sure.
and what you mean by that.
Okay.
And then maybe we can have conversations with the people who are providing the services, and they can come forward and explain how they're making changes or how they're already providing services that are meaningful in
Sounds
that
great.
way. Okay, thanks.
Jen?
Of course.
Is it possible with this program also that there's a whole lot more going on in the way of community outreach and opportunity than what the application indicated to us? Sure, yes, if that's okay.
Yeah, I can't answer that. That's a good question.
Okay, we've got someone who can explain that to us.
With the caveat, I am not an art person, but I can tell you what they're doing. This is a program that really is pretty blended with, we do have groups that do part of their time at the Crow. And I'll give you an example. So just within the past couple of months, the Champaign County Camera Club or Photography Club had a huge photography show they used to do it at Lincoln Square Mall. And so we had a photography group, they went out in the community and took pictures. And then they came back to the Crow and downloaded them onto the computer and then printed them off. And so we had people who entered in the photography show with the Camera Club. We also have artists who do their work at the Crow, but they recently, and I think they're still up for maybe a few weeks with the Town and Country art exhibit at the Springer Center. And so their art is displayed with other artists as well. We just were a vendor or site for the Boneyard Arts Festival. And so we had a lot of artists who also used our space at the Crow along with our artists. And we had over 500 people visit the Crow during the Boneyard Arts Festival. And so in return for being able to use our space, some of the people who displayed their art and who are art teachers in our community are now going to do some reciprocal classes over the summer when they're not teaching. And so we're still working out how we can invite community members to participate in that, as well as people we support. The art community has a hard time finding places to display their work. And so we really see that we can kind of be a connection for the community in that way. And then this coming weekend, the Air Art Show is happening at the Crow as well. So some of it is in center, just in terms of things like pottery and, other art that takes, you have to have a space where you can store your stuff. We just do that portion of the groups at the Crow. So it's kind of a blend of both. Any questions or?
Thank you. Any more questions or comments?
I was just gonna say that maybe this is really not related to the motion, so that's why I was hesitant, but maybe an opportunity for the board would be over the next year is inviting community organizations to our meetings, like folks at the Park District, the YMCA, you know, to just for them to share some of their programs so that maybe we could build some relationships for other inclusive opportunities for the people that we serve.
That's a great idea.
You know, like it sounds though like this program that's kind when you were explaining it, I was like, this is great. This is really a nice step forward. So sorry,
Well, I just want to say I've been to the Crow for a number of shows and events, and I'm tremendously impressed. It's really it's fun, and it's a new thing, and it survived COVID. And I did buy some of the candles. Any further discussion? Stephanie?
Kim Fisher,
yes.
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Deb Rush. Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, moving on. And I think this is good discussion, and we do have enough time for the discussion. This is very appropriate.
Yep.
Especially because it's our first meeting in person. I mean, we've been on Zoom. We did all of our discussion last month with everybody presenting and people trying to explain things on Zoom. This is amazing. It really makes a difference for old people like me. DSC Community Choices Employment First. Can I hear a motion, please?
I'll move to approve. Oh, I can't do that. Can I motion to approve?
You read it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta read this. Okay, motion to approve CCDDB funding of $90,100 for DSC Community Choices Employment First, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I have just one request for next year is I would like to see actual numbers related to how many people with disabilities got jobs as a result of this program. That was, you know, the numbers all reflected numbers of businesses, which is great, but that additional information would be really helpful.
Is that information available or can it become available?
Kim?
That's included in the quarterly reports. That's a special provision that will continue for program year 2024 if this is approved for funding.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim. Any further discussion on this one?
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Deb Rush. Yes. Georgiana Schuster.
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next one is also DSC and it is called Individual and Family Support. Can I hear a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve CCDDB funding. Oh, no.
This is complicated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need a little explanation for the
Sure,
verbiage of
please, yes,
this?
but-
Lynn, could you please explain this?
This proposal was submitted to the DDB as it has been for infinity years. It's a longstanding program, appropriately submitted to the DDB, but we didn't have any submissions for the IDD Special Initiatives Fund, which is really it's a shorter term, like 3 or 4 years of special projects, and felt like given the bubbling concerns about access to respite in this community, maybe this one should be treated as special. And it also has a portion of the program is specific assistance, especially around respite-like opportunities, camp vouchers and things like that. It's always done that. So it fits with this, with the specific assistance priority in the special initiatives. So it's really complicated because the mental health board shares authority with you on that, and they won't vote until next week. So if you deny DDB funding for it and approve DDD special initiatives funding, then on May 24th, the mental health board will have the opportunity to approve DD special initiatives funding for it. If that doesn't happen, we can bring you a special motion in June to bring this back to the DDB fund. This really was also about affordability, but we'll see, you know, I have very early projections of next year's revenue, so that's a work in progress as well. But for right now, our job is to provide you with reasonably affordable recommendations, you know, and then you can do what you like with them. So it's a little complicated because it's deny the request, but approve it in a different fund. The agency would not have to do anything like to move those forms to the other fund. It would simply be which fund the payments are coming from. So yay, Chris. But anyway.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Thank you for that clarification, because, you know, saying deny right away up front is like, what's going on here? So, okay.
Yes, you just explained exactly what was going on in my head. Anne.
Yeah.
that's
So
right.
any further discussion?
Well, let me
on-
make the
Oh,
motion.
you
Yeah.
need a motion. Thank you.
Yeah. Motion to deny CCDDB funding and to approve IDD special initiatives funding of $250,000 for DSC, individual and family support, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum and pending approval by the CCMHB.
And I'll second because that's much easier.
Yes.
Okay, now any further discussion or questions?
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
And Robin.
Yes. All right.
Sorry.
The next item is also DSC. It's called Service Coordination. Can I hear someone read the motion?
I will read it. The motion to approve CCDDB funding of $496,080 for DSC service coordination, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I do have a question that maybe simply answered. Does this program rely whatsoever, have anything to do with RPC's change in scope?
Do you want to?
The two programs work together collaboratively.
Mm-hmm.
The RPC provides a conflict-free case management and a person-centered plan. And then DSC provides slightly more intensive case management for folks that need it. And then they provide what is referred to as an implementation strategy, which is a plan that how they're going to help the person meet the goals that they want to meet. So it's a piece of the person-centered plan. So they work collaboratively together, and they do serve the same people, but they serve them in different ways.
So in RPC's new stance of just serving the Champaign County community, it won't change how DSC works with.
So these two programs won't, the change in RPC won't affect the program that the CCDDB has been funding for the past several years now, and it won't also affect the service coordination program in this regard.
Could I add also, it's not a complete overlap. The people served under this contract are a set of, I mean, there's a Venn diagram. I can't do it. It's not everyone is served by both programs. Right.
So that's a lot of good information, and summarizing it, what I'm hearing from you, Kim, is that the changes that CCRPC is going to have in the next year do not affect this. Is that correct?
Correct, I guess.
As far as we know right now.
I mean, it's sort of complicated. The program that CCRP or the service coordination for people with state funding will begin working with another ISC agency. But they will still be able to continue to provide the services for the people with CCDDB funding for the services that they've been receiving from DSC service coordination. So
this is a little bit of it's kind of a perfect world situation. Like, this is a longstanding program as well. It goes back to a time when DSC received state funding to do service coordination, but then that stopped. So then at that point, the DDB picked it up because it is more intensive case management than the state is paying people to do. Like, the state contracts for service coordination are like very limited. There's lots of responsibilities, but they don't include all of this stuff. Am I right? Like, you can get in the car with someone and take them over to the housing authority and sit with them and work on the redetermination through this program. That is not something that the ISCs have been funded adequately to do, although, ethically they might be trying to do all of that. So it really does takes the weight off of some of that. But the ISCs have specific other responsibilities as the gatekeeper to state funding. So they might be involved with some of these people, but they're not going to be able to do that intensive level of support through the ISC contract, which is one of the reasons for the upcoming news story at the end of this meeting about what's going on with Regional Planning Commission, right? I mean, this is really about gaps in the state system. So we're getting closer and closer to that painful conversation, which we will have, right?
Thank you for that discussion. Any further questions or comments? Do we have, I'm getting confused now as the president. We have a motion on the floor. We have a second and we've had some discussion. Is there any further discussion?
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Ruch.
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right. Thank you for that discussion and clarification. We will have more discussion moving forward, I am sure. Persons assuming control of their environment, otherwise known as PACE, Consumer Control and Personal Support. Can I hear a
Motion to deny CCDDB funding and to approve IDD special initiatives funding of $36,000 for persons assuming control of their environment. Oh, there is more. Turn the page. Consumer control and personal support subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum and pending approval by the CCMHB.
I'll second.
discussion or questions on this?
I just have a quick question, which I didn't realize until this. So if this funding for PACE's program goes to the special initiative, when that fund is up, because this is a longstanding program, no, right? Okay, and so is the other PSC one. So then it would just shift back to our normal funds. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, this is money that's available right now, and the staff determined that it would be an appropriate use for this money. It doesn't mean that we're denying them long-term, is my understanding. You want to say something?
I really shouldn't do this. It's just, this really has to do with, your main revenue is property tax based, and property taxes do not increase based on the needs of people living in the community. So because we're possibly looking at a more modest increase for this coming year, and maybe a bank crash like in 2009, where we would then see a decrease in the property tax revenue. We thought it would be very responsible to like budget conservatively. So that's why tapping into the DD Special Initiatives Fund. And you guys, there might be other fun projects to do with that fund, which we'll get to later in the year. We just really needed to get through the bulk of these applications, and next we can kind of discuss what else you could do with that fund in spite of potential financial restrictions in the next couple of years. Anyway, okay.
Financial restrictions, that's a good term. Any further questions or discussion about this one?
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Rush.
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right. So the next items were submitted to the CCMHB for consideration, reviewed by staff and board members of both boards. We've got DSC Family Development. Can I hear a motion?
Motion to advise the Champaign County Mental Health Board to provide funding in the amount of $656,174 per year for a 2-year term for DSC Family Development.
I'll second.
Discussion. I just want to say, I remember when we reviewed this last month that there was a significant number of what do we call them now? Latino, Hispanic, non-English speaking families living in rural Champaign County who were participating in this program. And I noted that that was excellent outreach or availability to a really significantly underserved population. I also noticed that did not continue on to the later ages, but maybe it will with good services from 0 to 5 for these special families. Any further discussion?
Vicky Niswander. Deb Rush.
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next item is a new program. Can I hear a motion?
Motion to advise the Champaign County Mental Health Board to use $4,043 of IDD set aside funds for CU early. CU early?
That happens sometimes.
See you early, see you early. Okay.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. The next item is to defer a decision. Can I hear a motion?
Motion to defer a decision on IDD special initiatives funding of $125,000 as recommended for Chris Healthy Aging, improving family caregiver, mental health pending programmatic revisions to focus on IDD and approval by CCMHB.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this one?
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes.
Before we do these,
Yeah.
there are a few motions here that related to the contract process.
Okay.
Would it be okay to do the decision or the discussion and decision on RPC's application now? Is that?
Lynn is suggesting that we go back to the RPC decision before we do the contract negotiation and special notifications. And we'll do those last. I don't think there's usually a lot of discussion about the we're basically authorizing the executive director to conduct contract negotiations. Is there a reason that you want to do that way? I mean,
No, we can go ahead and do
yeah,
this if you want.
let's
since
get
we're so
these
bold.
out of the way unless they become
Okay.
more controversial than I think they're going to
I
be.
think that could.
Okay.
Okay, so I will entertain the next motion.
Motion to authorize the executive director to conduct contract negotiations as specified in this memorandum.
And I'll second that.
I think this is a motion to authorize the executive director to do her job. So, any other questions? Stephanie?
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander.
Yes.
Deb Rush.
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes.
All about transparency.
And there are two more motions in this. It might require a little. There are two more motions in this that might require a little bit of clarification. But let's hear the motion and then we'll see if anybody needs clarification.
Motion to authorize the executive director to implement contract maximum reductions as described in this memorandum.
A second?
Any discussion?
I need clarification.
May I?
No.
Do you
Lynn,
want to do it?
you do it.
This is the doomsday. Okay, there we go. This is the doomsday clause. We have lived in such lucky times that the revenue projections have gone up for several years, and we've made some reductions in our administrative costs so that we could put as much money out there as possible. But there's always 2009, and that if that happens again, where there's a reduction, or actually in 2020, a lot of people decided not to pay taxes. So we did receive, quite a bit less than we expected to, but we had fund balance. So we could survive that without affecting any of the agency contract amounts. What happened in 2009, or maybe by the time it hurt us, it was 2010, when we had to make reductions in contracts, and the process we engaged in then was pretty much participatory. We talked to the agencies like, what can you cut? And people had, unfortunately, they had thought about that and they had some ideas. It was very painful. I hope we never have to do that again, but it is possible that we would experience a reduction in the revenue available, partly because the DD board is at its cap. So, there's not really a lot of growth possible. So the growth in your fund comes from growth in the consumer price index. This is I feel like getting Tammy Ogden and having her come in here and tell you. There's another factor, which is that this county is under PTEL, which limits property tax growth in another way. So it could happen. And we might say, we're just going to have a special meeting and talk about does everybody take a 5% reduction? That's sometimes seems fair, but it might not be. So I think we would have to have a special meeting, but this is the doomsday clause. At least in case we need to act fast, which so far it's just that one time. But that was some people here were there for that and remember the things we had to let go of, and we've never gotten them back. So anyway,
I have a question, as usual, is everybody's allotment, everybody's tax allotment based on what is paid or what is billed?
oh, that is such a great question. Georgiana, we should go visit Tammy Ogden after this meeting. She's amazing. Yeah, there's a difference between what is billed and what is collected.
Yeah.
We usually get 99% of what is billed.
Okay.
But in 2020 it was, Chris, do you remember offhand?
Lower to mid 90s.
So that was hard. And the DD board has not had a very big fund balance compared to the mental health board. So that's another reason to budget sort of conservatively if we can. But anyway.
Thank you for that clarification. We have a motion that has been put on the floor and seconded.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Deb Rush. Yes. Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. And there's one more motion at the bottom of the page.
Okay, I'll read that one. Motion to include in all PY 2024 contracts, the provision for special exemptions to funding requirements and guidelines as described in this memorandum.
A second?
Discussion?
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Deb Rush.
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay. We can go back to page 15 of our folder, the CCRPC Community Services. And I think before we have discussion, we should have the motion on the floor.
A motion to approve CCDDB funding of $433,777 for CCRPC Community Services Decision Support PSP, subject to the caveats as presented in this memorandum.
I'll second.
All right, now I'm sure there are some questions. Who would like to raise a question?
I just have to say, when this information came at me, I was floored. I didn't know what to think first about what was going to happen, and immediately I talked to Lynn, and my concerns right off the bat were trying to understand what happens when CCRPC is no longer the gatekeeper and has access to that PUNS list, and how does that affect the individuals for whom we provide these services? And I think Lynn tried to reassure me, but I still don't.
I think that's a great question anyway. Yeah.
Really, it's like, how can we move forward with this until we have a better understanding of who is going to assume the role of gatekeeper, provide ISC services for Champaign County and all of the surrounding counties that are currently served by CCRPC. I just have a whole lot of questions and no answers.
So with, I think the board chair gets to decide who participates in the conversation other than board members.
Lynn just informed me that the board chair gets to decide who participates in the conversation, and I would like to take the prerogative of the chair to open it up to anyone who wants to participate in this discussion. We have done very well. I want to congratulate you all for having excellent discussion and getting through most of our agenda, so we can really devote some time to understanding what's going on here. So who would like to speak? Anybody want to try to answer that question? Sounds appropriate. Thank you for being here, and thank you for explaining things to us.
Is it on? Need to get my feet on the floor. Hello, I'm Lisa Benson. I'm the Community Services Director for the Regional Planning Commission. Angela Yost, who most of you are very familiar with, is our ISC current program manager. She also does our developmental disability services. So I think the first place to start, I think the most important thing that I want to tell you all is that no one that is currently receiving services in the state of Illinois that are state funded will be losing services. It's our intention and our hope that anyone that is being served by Regional Planning Commission currently locally with funding, that they also would not lose any services. It is a very hard decision that we had to make, we being the Regional Planning Commission. In 2022, as all of you are very aware and everyone in the room has talked about, there's been ongoing staffing shortages and we have been managing that for quite some time. We also, for many years, have been managing funding shortages through our state contracts. Those each year continue to grow. So in 2022, when we were managing the staffing shortage, we needed to do a very in-depth analysis of what could we do to have the staff to deliver a quality program. So in evaluating that, what we need in compensation for staff to obtain and retain staff to deliver these services, and then also continue to provide a quality service, we evaluated the funding that would be needed to do such, and have found that it will leave us in significant shortage, which won't support the staff nor the program to be of high quality. That was the primary decision that we had to make. So with that, providing the state notice that effective July 1st, we would not renew our contract for FY24. Very hard decision. We've been significantly committed to serving those, not only in Champaign County, but we expanded into a total of 13 counties. Effective July 1st, what is referred to as Region H through the state contract, those services will be taken on by other ISC organizations. Champaign County will be served by Prairie Land Service Coordination. We're working closely with the state and then Prairie Land and then the other ISCs that will be absorbing the rest of Region H to make a smooth transition. In the best of worlds, our staff that are currently employed through the state contract would seek and obtain employment with these other ISC organizations, and hopefully the families would see not any change in their service because their case manager wouldn't change. All of the ISCs that will be absorbing Region H are fully committed to taking on or offering employment opportunities to the existing RPC staff. So I think those are some of the primary. I know there's additional questions, but I wanted to put that out as the initial information as relates to the press release that we put out.
So I think some of there has been some confusion about what the DDB is funding. So this is totally separate, and I don't know if you could speak to that. Okay.
So again, each year our work has expanded through the DDB, and Angela will probably have to maybe chime in when I start to stumble. I don't know the exact year that we began to do, in 2019, we began to do person-centered conflict-free case management. 2018. Okay, 2018.
Sorry.
That was something that the state initiated, and then we collectively, I think in this room, not just Regional Planning Commission, felt that it would be beneficial for those that received not only state funding, but those also that were receiving developmental disability services funded through the Developmental Disabilities Board to also receive conflict-free person-centered case management. And so we began to provide those services for people that were in the state system and those also receiving services through the DDB. We also, through our contract with DDB, do preference assessments. So evaluating what people in families and individuals in Champaign County are seeking in services, where there might be gaps in services within the developmental disability services. So that's been something that's been done for many years. What year did we begin to do transition consultant services? I'm going to call it 2019.
It was when Katie when she first started with us, so probably around 2019.
So in 2019, we began to do transition consultant services, working with young folks that were going to be entering the adult system and helping them to make that transition. And then last year, we added to our work what had previously been done by another organization, the mental health, developmental disabilities, dual diagnosis case management. And I'm thinking I may be forgetting something. Am I forgetting something? I don't think, no. I think those are our primary services.
So I have a question if you don't mind. So now that Prairie Land Service Coordination is going to take over management of the PUNS list, how do you have you started planning with them on how you are going to be able to keep abreast of potentially new individuals who don't have a Medicaid waiver or any kind of other funding, but reside in Champaign County and would be eligible for our funding in order for them to be able to access these funds?
So again, I think there's details to be worked out. What I can say is we have a very close working relationship with Prairie Land. The services that Regional Planning Commission has provided in person-centered conflict-free case management, we essentially receive a list from the Developmental Disabilities Board of who's being funded and served. And then we were able to check PUNS and then move forward with person-centered planning. I feel very confident that in working with families and individuals, we could manage a way of releases of information and then confirming through Prairie Land who is or isn't. I think there could potentially be other ways to address the information that's needed, but that in the most basic form, I'm sure we could do.
Could I add something? In each contract, there is a special provision requiring providers to provide the list of participants in their programs that are funded through the CCDDB. So this can help track the people that need the person-centered, conflict-free person-centered plan through RPC. And then it is also a requirement that proof of PUNS enrollment be maintained for each of those people enrolled in the programs. And so again, I think this would be a detail to continue to work out with Prairie Land and the providers, because that doorway is going to need to be going for providers as well as RPC.
I have a question too. So as a former ISC, are you obligated to follow all of the mandates of the state of Illinois as a, you know, as in your current role, or what will be your future role?
Great question. We have, so to answer your question directly, I think more specifically, Vicki, what you're asking is, would we be required to use the same process, the same documentation, the same forms?
That's correct.
In strict response, no, we would not be required to.
Well, I think that's a good thing.
I think, you know, some of the things that we've done, you can look at this in a variety of ways, but naturally, folks that are on the PUNS list are awaiting services to be selected and then receive waiver funding. And to make that more seamless, or to try to help them prepare for that and to make that transition maybe quicker, we had created, so there's the discovery and the person-centered plan and all of that. If they already have that, the idea is that they would more quickly transfer into services versus having to have that done. So there could be pros, some pros, there's cons also, we know, pros to maintaining the state documentation so they could move when they're selected from PUNS. So that was a premise that we had worked on with regard to the type of documentation that we had used for our person-centered planning.
And how did that work out? I mean, how many people actually received the plans and then got funded?
Well, they're kind of, so anyone that was in our services obviously received person-centered planning and the documentation. Right. So they'd all have it. The selection, as we all know,
spotty at best.
So you know, we can tell you how many people were selected and then back in how many people were also funded through the DDB, but they're not linear in essence.
Okay.
Yes, please.
This is not about the current application, but it's just sort of about a hope. Like when Kim was talking about our need for that information too, I think one of the best things that you do with this fund is provide services for people while they're waiting for state awards. And the state awards are not that great anymore, and the state system has kind of fallen apart, but it's still appropriate to this fund. And I think that it's also really important to me to kind of know who's not getting anything at all. So that's another good reason for us to keep, you know, whether through you all or through Prairieland, to understand who's bothered to enroll on PUNs and isn't getting any services, in case there's something that could be done either through this contract or another one while they're waiting for something, right? Like that's kind of our aspiration.
I have a question about the actual grant that we are talking about today. Does the grant reflect, the grant proposal reflect this change in CCRPC's scope? Does it say Champaign County residents only?
No, this funding can only be used for Champaign County residents. That's the rule always, but there could be language in the original proposal that needs to be changed related to not having the state contract anymore. Do you remember? I mean, it's been a minute.
I don't think so.
I just, Lynn and I've had some discussions about this, and I just want to get on the public record why conflict-free case management is important, because that term is being put out, and I think some people don't know what that means. And so would you like to explain conflict-free case management? Lynn has explained it to me and why it is important, but either one of you.
2,000 words or less.
In, Lynn said 2,000 words or less.
We'll let Angela start and I may chime in.
Well, I'm not great with words, so that's why Lisa's so much better at public speaking. But basically it is case management that's not provided by an agency or someone who has a stake in serving the client. So, you know, when it's not to say that any agency would ever write a goal that would better suit them or anything like that, but it's really supposed to be driven by what the client wants versus what an agency can provide them with. So, you know, if the individual says that they want to maybe go out and do things, you know, we have to be careful with frequencies, but so many times a week or, you know, so many times a month, you know, we need to write that in the plan versus maybe if an agency were to write it and say like, well, we can't do that many times a month, you know, we need to maybe say like once a month. Again, not saying that that's what would happen, but just so that it's purely what the individual is telling them that they want to happen.
I'll add just a little to that. Kind of got me a jumping off point. So the person-centered piece, you know, it's really getting at what their preferences are, what their goals, their aspirations, and it's fully focused on their desires. The conflict-free piece is, you know, what Angela began to talk about. We all have, as any provider, you have sometimes barriers, you know, maybe you have a staffing shortage, so you're not able to provide 3 times a week. Yes, she was starting to highlight. There can also be another key piece to this is financial conflict. So providing services that would then create revenue. And so putting things into, and I don't believe, this is not about anybody doing anything inaccurate. We have great service providers here in Champaign County. But it's that safeguard that someone wouldn't put things into a plan that aren't needed that would generate revenue. That's the financial conflict sometimes in conflict-free case management. There was something else that
And that's where I have 2,000 words, because my knowledge of conflict-free case management is all about the legal side. It's all about Department of Justice findings around the country and, sort of what's the common interpretation. And it's really about the risk of overspending on one person and underspending on another. Right. And so anyway, thank you.
I think the other thing that I wanted to highlight, sitting here listening today, one of the thoughts that I had in one of the discussions, the other piece of the work that's done through conflict-free, person-centered case management is helping individuals advocate for what they're working toward. So if someone's wanting services that are after hours or outside of business hours, by having a person-centered plan where they've identified those goals, they then have someone to help bridge that if there's a gap, help them to advocate to see that those services are happening. So by having a person-centered conflict-free case managers or case management plan and then a case manager, they can work with providers to help figure out, it's just another person in the mix to help figure out how we get the goals of those individuals met.
That is so helpful. I was trying to process through that before your explanation. So thank you for explaining and thank you for asking, because you asked the question I was hoping to ask. Yeah.
The other reason that you will hear me say particularly conflict-free person-centered case management, we've often referred to those because of the statewide system as independent service coordination. That's really a grant. That's a fund. So for instance, when we say it is our hope through local and federal dollars, not state dollars, to continue to provide those services, we're not referring to them as independent service coordination. We're referring to the actual service.
Is there somebody that is online that wants to ask a question? Lynn?
I can't see you. Oh, it's Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Yes, I would, as a consumer and of PACE, and volunteer, I would really appreciate I think PACE is doing a very good job for the personal support workers and doing that better than community choices. So I would advise the board, if you have anything to cut, and as a consumer with community choices, as the SCA right now, I would go with PACE if PACE got approval for the SCA. And the inclusion, I think you need to ask more questions for community choices about the inclusion for surveys, because as a client, I don't think they're doing a very good job about, but doing stuff that versus the personal support workers. And it seems so similar and to do it more, but I think employment needs also more funding for more businesses out there, for getting more businesses for people so this, I would be glad to help in any way. If you have any questions, if you have cuts for where to cut, or where more funding should come as a consumer. And I did get a letter for the But this is, I think a lot of people for the ISC would appreciate knowing that regional planning is they're cut and who is replacing them, like you said, for that. And I think everybody would appreciate having the same person. So after you've already built a relationship and keeping it, I would emphasize that for the if you said the next organization to do that for. So that is my comments for and I know PACE is wanting to fund help people and expand, and I think
Jennifer, hang on.
they don't have enough money right now. So I just think I would really, if you've got any more questions, I feel free to contact me.
If you can stick around, there's another opportunity later in the meeting that where you might want to share some more of this, but like much appreciated comments about the RPC. We need to finish talking about that. But if you have time, there's another opportunity for your thoughts if you can stay.
Thank you so much for your comments and for being here. We really appreciate that. Are there any more comments or questions or concerns about the RPC decision support?
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Vicky Niswander,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Whoa, I am so impressed by the level of discussion that we've had today. I think there was a lot of work that went on over the last several months to answer a lot of people's questions, clarify things. I want to thank every single member of the board for their participation in asking the hard questions, bringing up the difficult topics, and listening to people when they explain things. And I want to thank the staff, especially again, for your incredibly hard work. May it continue. And to all of our providers and community participants and consumers and individuals who are advocating for themselves. Thank you very much.
Shall we speed through the rest?
I think what else do we need to do here?
You know, good to get to. So there's just information.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
just information. And then staff reports is information. I guess the next thing is actually citizen input, public participation. Oh, Champaign County Mental Health Board input.
Can I do it?
Yes, please.
So this evening, the Mental Health Board will meet here for the first time in 3.5 years. And they're having a study session to discuss recommendations. And I don't know, sometimes there's not much to say, so it might be short. But then 1 week later, they will have the full meeting and they will make decisions about funding. They were almost $1 million light of the requests. So they have to say no to a lot. This has been a very painful season for that reason and many others. I feel like crying right now. I want to tell you, though, importantly, something that's going on related to the Mental Health Board right now in the Illinois General Assembly is they are making major changes to the Community Mental Health Act, which will change some of the governing body, the county board's relation to the Mental Health Board regarding like when people are appointed and what we need to do when anyone is appointed. So it's cleaning up some vague pieces and clarifying who has authority over the budget, not the levy, but the budget. It's been hot, like an item for many, many arguments since January. And I'm sitting here, you know, seeing the updates. It's about to pass and hopefully be signed into law. And I'm thinking, why don't we take that on for the DD board next year? There are not very many DD boards in the state of Illinois, but the statute is quite old and some of its preoccupation is outdated. It's about facilities, which we've done that and it wasn't super effective. And I think there are it also seems to really place the state over the DD board. I think we should work on, let's flip that relationship to be more like the mental health board's relationship to the state, which is, in theory, the mental health board is supposed to advise the state on everything it does with its money. I would like that to be a proper role of this board. Since you hear so much about what the state may not be doing or may not understand about our communities. So anyway, I'm just kind of excited. Let's look at the statute and take it apart next year. Hopefully y'all are as excited about that as I am. And that's all I want to say about the mental health board. Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that? So what do you foresee that work looking like over the next year? Like are looking at the statute and then talking to legislators potentially as board members or something?
I mean, it got really ugly really fast to open up the Mental Health Act. So I expect nothing less if we open up the DD Act. There are just so few DD boards. I doubt they all see eye to eye. And then I'm sure we would get some pushback. I think the legislature knows that they're responsible for adequate appropriate. I think they know. It's just where do they get money? And when it's an election year, especially, where do you get money? So things don't change very fast, or if ever. So I do think it would be difficult to get a lot of legislative support, but I think we should try it.
Lynn, thank you for that. So that was Champaign County Mental Health Board input. Staff reports are in our document. And the next item is citizen input, public participation. We did have one citizen give some excellent input. Does she want to say anything more, or is there anybody else?
Hey, Jennifer, if you would like to speak to us some more, this is a great time.
Well, but it's, think it, it's really good to help if people, do you have like even an email or a list of people to do this, doing surveys for consumer, because where you think if you have to ever cut money or funding or and knowing where to put more or something, more money, I think I would be really happy to help. And I said, as a consumer of PACE, and I've been with Community Choices, and I've been with regional planning and received services. In the past, I have received services from the SC, but no longer do for employment services. And what this is, I can give you a lot of information from a consumer perspective. And I really think that PACE is wanting to expand. I feel sorry for them after really somebody had stole some money and as an employer and the funding, and it's like that's why also that got fired. And so I'm thinking they need help, and I know they are more trying to expand and help for the personal support workers, personal assistants, doing more independent living and recreation, artistic, and I think more of this funding and the employment, but I think employment for the LEAP program is really important because we need more businesses to understand what is out there. And if you can keep a long list of that, I think if they do, to get more businesses on that and needs, I think more funding out there for people, for helping right now with finding a place to live to and rental, I don't know how many times for this, and it's like for more landlords to get in the to accept the housing vouchers. But I can't emphasize enough, but these people are really and trying to find whether there's an employment, but the emphasis for employment you need to make is, as a consumer before, they've just found me anything, a job I didn't like, but it has to be something that you want, not just anything in the community. Otherwise, how is somebody going to say, okay, they just found it, and then they're only going to go for a month and then get out? I think one time that's not, they need to do for the LEAP. And I think DRS and as of funding, I don't think DHS, DRS is not doing, and that's where people are coming to PACE and other and like community choices for help when they're not doing. It's needing help. So it's part, I think, in people, I think PACE is doing a job at trying to expand that and help as most people they can. And I think they need more funding to hire more staff and to do more program. It's, for my consumer perspective, the PSW program at PACE is much better than community choices. So and the community choices program, but I think as funding, one time I got extra funding when somebody I found out closed my case with DRS, and after I got closed and had it for about 2 months, and then I found out right before then in a month that they switched it and they were going to lay me off. And somehow this board from Community Choices, the funding from you help continue to help somebody, but it then COVID hit. It's like, so it went help, but I think will help when people have these kinds of situations if you get more employment, because and to keep people, but to do the surveys to see if they're doing still helping from the consumer's perspective of meeting their needs and helping them, and how many.
Thank you, Jennifer. Those were very, very good words. I don't want to cut you off, but we do have a 5-minute time limit per person on this part of the segment, and we are listening to you, and thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wants to do public participation or? Okay, do we have any successes or other agency information that people want to present today? That will be our last agenda item before board announcements. Thank you, Jennifer.
I'll just speak quickly. This is Becca from Community Choices. This isn't actually a Community Choices success, but I don't know if you guys have been following the rollout of the electronic visit verification. And just kind of speaking to sort of the power of advocacy and sort of watching the number of parents come and speak directly to the higher ups at DHS and saying, hey, the live-in exemption is something that we desperately need because this new system is going to be so disruptive to our lives. And then they made a good decision about it. And so it was something I'd really been following. And it was, I think last Friday, they announced that they were going to go ahead and change their perspective on that moving forward. So we're really excited to hear that. And for any of the people who were here in this room that attended or spoke at those meetings, I'm really appreciative. I think just being able to do our work in the home-based program, it's going to make a huge difference for providers as well too. So I felt like that was a great success statewide. I thought I'd just end quickly with that.
Thank you.
I'll make this very brief. I'm going to tell the last chapter of the story in this meeting, and then the rest, the lead up next meeting, just a warning. We had 8 people who recently went to the National Comic-Con convention in Indianapolis. I think they're still riding the high. They got to get autographs, meet some of the heroes of that genre. And it just kind of tells the progression of what happens when we support people and identifying what their interests are, their hobbies, finding like-minded people within our group, and then helping them make that connection. But I had no idea that thousands of people were into that. Or that being called a nerd was a good thing. But so I'm learning a lot from them as well. So I'll tell the rest of the story next meeting. Thank you.
Yes, there are thousands and thousands of people, and nerd is a term of endearment. Anyone else? Are there any board announcements?
As a fellow nerd, I'm like jumping out of my seat. So thank you. That's very exciting.
Well, thank you all for being here, and I believe this meeting is adjourned.